Hey, this is Matt Urtz, your Madison County historian. We are still recording interviews with different people, businesses, and organizations that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. We are very lucky today to have Emily Zaengle of the Quarry Hill Art Park with us. Emily, thanks for being here today. Talk a little bit about, so you guys, you're open year round, but I'm assuming you have a few less people when this first kind of took off. Talk a little bit about when it came on your radar and how your organization reacted.
Sure. I will admit I was not paying attention. This really surprised us, and it happened very quickly. So I remember hearing about it probably in February, but it still seemed very distant at that point. Something in California, probably not something we would have to worry about. I know personally, I remember things starting to become more apparent in March, pulling my daughter out of daycare, doing those things, but still felt like work was going to continue as usual. And then the more and more we learned, it became apparent that this was going to have an impact and was going to have an impact on everyone. So on March 20th, which was a Friday night, I sent an email to my staff saying work from home. The dates in the email said work from home from March 20th through March 27th. So I was thinking a week. And then shortly after that, the governor of New York State closed down the state. So then we had a lot more guidance on how we needed to proceed. We are an interesting organization because we're a landscape. We have 104 acres, 4 miles of trails, and we do a lot of art programming, and we do a lot of event-based programming. So we, it initially shut everything down. All the staff worked from home for about 2 weeks. And then it became apparent that outdoor spaces were really needed. And our site is very accessible. So there's not really a way for us to close our trails. There's multiple entry points onto our trail system. So we said, yes, come use our trails. We closed all of our indoor facilities. We stopped charging admission, and we didn't see an increase at first in usage at all. I think people were staying home, and that's, again, what we were encouraging people to do. But I think as the weather started to warm up, which was early May, we started to see an increase in visitors, people that were looking for outdoor spaces. And so we've been thankful that we could provide that for people. And it's been nice to see that people are seeking the outdoors. They're looking to nature and to art for joy, for respite, for exercise. That's all, as other things start to open back up, we're kind of back to our normal numbers of visitors. Our arts and our programming is still offline. So our office and administrative staff are all still working from home. Our maintenance staff, our groundskeepers are there every day, checking our facilities, mowing the grass, kind of doing the basic outdoor maintenance work. So that's where we are right now.
How many staff do you have?
We have 5, so 2 full-time and 3 part-time.
Talk a little bit about what are people able to do from home? What are they not? And how are you kind of keeping people involved?
Sure. It was challenging right before this happened. We were already undertaking a project to shift a lot of our online work to a different platform. So we had been using Google, we were shifting to Microsoft. We had to figure out which platform worked best for kind of this remote work. And then we also had to look at, okay, what is our work now? We're used to planning programs and events that happen during the summer. And suddenly we weren't sure what the summer was going to look like. So it was challenging at first. I really gave the staff time, probably about 2 weeks, to just take a break, think, work, we'll continue to pay you, but start to imagine a very different summer for the art park. So we really, in the first couple of weeks, we paid for that time to just wrap our minds around what this could mean for our organization, but also what it meant for their own personal lives, because on top of work changing, everyone was suddenly, having to create home office spaces and figuring out what it meant for their daily routines and their schedules. So when we came back together as a team, there still was a period of, should we be working on the events and programs that we had scheduled for the summer? Should we be finding other stuff? Should we do a little bit of both? What really allowed us to figure out how we were going to proceed was to cancel all of our scheduled programs for the summer of 2020. So that's how we're operating currently. And instead, we're planning new programming. It's programming that is going to be geared towards the individual or the family unit. And it's going to be programming that people can pick up from our visitor center and then go out and utilize or experience as they walk on our trails and experience our site. And we're involving artists in that process. So one of the hardest decisions I had to make was to cancel our artists in residence for 2020. We had an artist scheduled to come from California, Annie Mitchell, and I was really looking forward to her work. It's fiber optic installations in the landscape, but we just couldn't guarantee where we would be this summer, and we felt it would be unwise to bring her from California. Unsure of how the fall would look, if there could be another wave of this. So we've postponed her until the summer, but until next summer, 2021. But we also, in thinking through our programming, realized that if we're saying no to an artist like Annie, how do we fulfill that part of our mission? How do we also support artists? So not just how do we engage visitors, but how do we make sure we continue to engage and support artists? So our personal programs, as we're calling them, will invite artists to come up with ideas, whether it's a pamphlet that they create that we can give out, whether it's a very temporary sculpture we can install. That's what we're working on now. So a lot of our work is still coming up with and designing programs, but we're doing that from home.
So do you have, one of the things that's come out of this for me is the use of digital media in different ways. Obviously, this being a very big one, we can't meet in person. And I think this coming Tuesday, we actually have a history group meeting as well, which will be the first time we've all gotten together since this started. Maybe we should record that just to look at it for posterity. But do you guys see a way, like, could you do a created walking tour so that maybe people that want to walk it, you can show some of the highlights, or people that maybe can't do it, but an opportunity to see it still? Because you guys have some amazing views in that place that are unique to you.
Yeah, social media has been wonderful because it's a way that we can bring the park to people wherever they are. So that's one example. We have a wealth of photographs that we've been using to do just that, to digitally share the art park with people who are not able to get there, or who might, just have never heard of the art park. And so social media has been great for that, sharing images. And as we move forward with the personal programs, one of the platforms that we're offering artists is our website. So right along with a temporary sculpture installation on site, an artist could come up with a completely digital program that they want to make available online through our website. So it doesn't have to be connected to our landscape. It's really just the idea of how do we continue to engage our visitors, our artists, and our landscape. And that can be on site, or it can be on our website, on social media. So we're open to all of those.
So I should have done this at the beginning, so I apologize. Explain to folks that aren't familiar the mission of the art park and its founders, because they played such an important role.
Sure. The art park was founded by Dorothy and Robert Reister, and it was their private residence for many years. They originally purchased about 23 acres and built a summer home on top of the hill and used that as their summer home for many years. They then moved there year round, and they started to piece together several other parcels of property. And that's why we have the 104 acres that we have today. And the art park really, if I could summarize our mission, it is about engagement, and it's on those three areas. So the land, artists, and our visiting public. And the idea is that art and landscape always has something to reveal. And we try as an organization to really set up that experience. So we welcome visitors and the public to our site so that they can experience land and art. We welcome artists to our site so they can engage with landscape and create site-specific works. And we continue, even as we're all working from home, to kind of operate in that arena of how do we make sure that art and landscape are always at the forefront.
All right, so one final question. We've asked everybody this, and you're in a little different perspective. How do you think this pandemic will impact your organization, your park in the future?
Sure. I can say personally, going back to my my first answer, I now realize, and I mean, I think I knew this before, but it's so easy to get caught up in your own work, in your own life. I see how interconnected we all are. And while I'm not a huge consumer of the news, I feel that there needs, part of my job and my responsibility as a leader of an organization, but also just as a citizen, is to really pay attention and to think and start to imagine that what we know might not be what we know tomorrow or next month or next year. And then that has implications for how we plan as an organization. And that's also some of what we're working on this summer. We don't want to be temporary. We don't want to do something this summer that we can't build on next year and next summer. So I think going forward, this has really taught me to think critically about how to position ourselves as an organization. And we're very fortunate that, you know, our staff is healthy, our families are healthy, but that it's not just, you can't separate your work and your life. And then you can't separate what you're doing now from what you might be doing in a year or 2 years. And I think, again, we all sort of have always operated that way and have always been looking to the future. But for now, I think now, for the first time, we're looking at that future and thinking, you know, what if? And how can the programming that I'm doing now really respond and be mindful that the future could be entirely different than our current situation?
It's funny you put it that way, because I would think of myself in almost the polar opposite. Being a historian, you kind of have to be connected all the time to news and what's going on, because this is a great example. We're literally recording history in the moment. And I found myself wanting to disengage more than I ever have in my life, I think. And I think more people are going to look to organizations like yours for that disengagement, that decompression, finding solace and joy where they otherwise might not have. I know I found myself more than once thinking, I wonder, as I walk my dog, I wonder if I could just drive down with her and she'd be good in the car long enough to walk on the trails. And at some point, I probably will try it, and we'll see how she does. But, you know, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. It's wonderful to talk to you. We worked on different projects, and we had a program that was one of the ones that was canceled that was supposed to be this summer. We have our History Where You Eat, where we were going to kind of feature your facilities. Unfortunately, that's not going to work out, but fingers crossed, maybe next year. You know, Emily, again, for what you do, you are wonderful. You've always been great to work with, you and your staff, Sarah, as well. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Hopefully we will talk in better terms, maybe Tuesday, but probably, but stay safe, and we hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing, Matt. I think this is great to have, and I'm happy to contribute. And I do hope that you can make it to the art park with your dog. There are a lot of happy dogs at the art park, I can tell you that.
No doubt that my dog Dolly would be ecstatic.
All
Talk to you
right,
soon.
take care.